Story 1. Am I the a-hole for going no contact with my dad and babysitter? I went down to see my family for Father's Day weekend with my 2 kids, 3 boys, 9-month-old girl. My sister is 11 and I'm 27. She's always trying to compete at an adult level when she's around me and kind of pops off. I never say anything. My parents have said you're going to have to say something if she oversteps. This time she was ranting about how she would never want to be like me because in school I had poor grades and got pregnant with a baby that I gave up, and academics mean a lot to her. I told her that she doesn't know what it's like to have a baby at a young age or make the choice to give it up. Also, I had all A's and was supposed to early grade in high school, so I don't know where she got her information from. I told her that she is 11, a child, commenting about adult things that she doesn't even fully understand, and that she's not an adult and can stop speaking to me like one. Well, my dad, want to point out that he's been my dad since I was 4 and I've never had another dad, literally got in my face screaming at me that she's allowed to have her opinion and what did she say that was wrong. I had to physically push him out of my face. He was like, "You come down here and act like this is your house and take her mom away from her." I bring stuff for my small kids and we usually stay for 3 to 4 days and small kids kind of need things. And I was like, I came down here expecting to be with my family and see my mom. She is literally every single day with our mom, and I only see her once a month when I drive down. I live 2 states away. And he said I come in and invade their space, and I was like, I don't mean to. Just small kids need a lot, and I don't mean to take up anyone's space. So I just left. After driving 2.5 hours down there, I just left. I feel like the worst mom for making my literal babies be in the car for 5 hours, but he was screaming at me and my kids were bawling their eyes out. I feel like my peace was being ruined. My kids have never seen me cry like that or seen anyone scream like that at someone else, especially their mom. My son kept saying Grandpa was mad and Grandpa made Mommy cry. I feel so bad, and then I don't know if I should. I feel bad for my mom also because she was just crying and telling my dad to stop and he's wrong and holding my babies while I was gathering my stuff. She said that I never invade her space and I'm always welcome, but am I? Like my dad said, I hurt his daughter, but I always thought I was his daughter too, and I always ask what I need to bring, if XYZ is okay with him. He never says no or hints he's upset. I'm feeling pretty devastated. My entire soul hurts and I just randomly start crying, but maybe I'm overreacting and being overly sensitive. I just don't know. I made this text to send to my mom today. I haven't sent it, but this is what I'm going to say. I definitely think for a while I'm going no contact with Dad. I just can't expose myself or my kids to someone who thinks like that. Even things said in anger hold truth. Amy's opinion is based on an incomplete narrative from an unreliable and incredibly biased source. She did nothing wrong, just parroted what Dad has previously said, and I've brushed it off before. I'm older now, and I have and had a right to protect my peace. It's too bad that's how they see me, but I don't need anyone's approval but my kids. As long as they look at me as a good role model, then that's all I care about, truly. My son keeps saying Grandpa is mad. Grandpa meant to make Mommy and Grandma cry. I never ever have exposed my kids to that type of yelling/screaming. Especially the way he got in my face and I physically had to push him away. Yeah, that was unacceptable. I'm not some child he can push his authoritarian parenting tactics on. I also want to point out he was an authoritarian bully to me growing up, but with Amy, the parenting is completely different. She is allowed to say whatever she wants to adults, but if I had popped off like that, I'd have been slapped and put in the corner for hours. When she says things like that to me, he smirks and thinks it's funny because we're sisters. That doesn't mean she can just say whatever to me and, oh golly, it's just fine. Nope. Obviously she can say whatever, but I stand my ground and say, no, that's not okay, it's unacceptable. That's his daughter, got it. Even if he apologized, which isn't really his MO, I don't think things would ever be the same. I don't think I'll ever feel like that's my home again or safe there because I always feel like I'm invading their space. I love you, Mom. I love you so much, and I miss you all the time. Hopefully we can get together sometime, and you're always welcome to come to my home. Am I the a-hole? Heck no, you are not the a-hole. That father sounds kind of miserable, and the fact that he would have slapped you when you were a kid if you had said that is not an appropriate reaction to a kid going off like that. Nor is him just laughing along and letting his youngest daughter say that. Like, he is failing at parenting in both regards with both people. And yeah, no, if he's abusive like that and getting in your face screaming at you as an adult when you are like correcting a child, like, hey, you can't say stuff like that to me. That's not okay. And he's throwing a fit. No, none of that is okay. And you are absolutely 100% fully valid in wanting to go no contact. You should not have to put up with that, nor should your kids have to see that kind of stuff in action, because then his parenting is going to start affecting them and giving them issues that they need to work through. So absolutely keep your distance. And yeah, I hope that your mom is able to visit you, and maybe I hope that your dad can learn a lesson and try and act like a better person, because that's just not okay. Story 2. My best friend had a friends with benefits relationship with my current girlfriend. Before meeting my current girlfriend, I had been single for a long while. I had several really rough relationships where we just didn't work, and it was sad. I had been on the dating apps, and it was draining my will to date. Just horrible experiences, and I felt like I was just making myself depressed. My best friend said he knew this girl who felt the same way about online dating, had some really bad experiences, and was perfect for me. We hit it off almost right away. Our first date was amazing. Our second date was amazing. We went from strangers to seeing each other twice a week. She asked to put off the physical part of our relationship, and no joke, for 2 months, we didn't have intercourse. We didn't have intercourse until we went away for the first time. We were in a hotel room, and it was so awkward. Never had intercourse for the first time when you're also staying at a hotel for the first time. We got into a groove, and I think we'd both say that we had a great intimate life. It's been 6 months, things are going great, we had our first mini vacation together, and not long ago she told me she loved me, and I quickly followed. Cut to Sunday, and my friends and I are talking. My friend is busting the chops of another friend. It was in good fun, but he made a joke that our other friend took a little too seriously, so as retribution, he turned to me and told me that my best friend, the guy who introduced me to the girl that I am in love with, was not only her friends with benefits, but they had one last intimate encounter between our first and second date. I nearly threw up. I know she had a friends with benefits situation, and after our second date she told me she wanted to hold off on the physical, but that she was done with the friends with benefits, and wanted to know if I would do the same, the exclusive. I didn't have a friends with benefits situation. I wasn't seeing anyone else, and so I was cool with it. I wasn't super excited that she was with a different guy, but it was in the past. She never brought it up again, and I was happy to never think about it again. Until my buddy dropped that nuclear bomb. My friend could only mutter, "Dude," and got angry for being outed. He immediately texted my girlfriend, who blew up my phone. My best friend's thoughts on that subject are, get over it. He was angry that her buddy outed him, but felt that it was funnier more than anything, and tried to joke that we could share notes. I love my friend, but he's gross. He has a natural charm and can get with women and somehow convinces them to do gross things. He'll share bits and pieces of his escapades, and I'm now convinced some things he shared must have been with my girlfriend. He's got a huge dong, which is another blow, given I'm average, I think. On one hand, he's fun and charming, but he'll openly admit that he likes his role as friends with benefits and isn't looking for anything serious, so he's not too concerned with her pleasure or making her feel valued. On the other hand, he's into some weird things. I haven't seen my girlfriend this week as we were both busy. She knows I learned about the background. She sent a long text on Sunday, and it's basically, "Yeah, he and I banged. I'm with you now. Get over it. I'll see you Friday." I'm really kind of grossed out. The friend who outed the situation told me that I shouldn't get too upset, and another friend said it all had radical undertones. I feel really gross about it. My friend would occasionally mention things he did, and now I can't stop picturing it being with my girlfriend. Some dudes might get off on that, others might be totally cool with it. I feel super awkward, inadequate, and gross. So I'll say this, I'm personally in the camp of it's not that big a deal. People have those kinds of intimate histories, and oh yeah, she was just friends with benefits with your friend who maybe is, it sounds like your best friend is also a little bit sleazy and needs to do some work in his life, but so what if maybe her thing with him wasn't the greatest thing ever? We all have things in our past that aren't the greatest thing ever, and just because she was with that friend and he had a big old dong, Size is not everything that matters. You take that average wiener and you can do some amazing stuff. And look, I know that it can be tough for some people. And I do think the fact that this was kind of like hidden from you, that does make it seem a little bit skeezy to me. Like, I wouldn't want this stuff to be hidden per se, but my best friend dated someone that I had dated, and I was fine with it, you know? I mean, I kind of warned him to, protect himself and be careful because she was going through some stuff. It's a whole story. I'm not getting into it, but all I'm saying is it shouldn't have to be that weird. And if it is to you, those are valid feelings, but I wouldn't get too caught up in it. Keep in mind what you and your girlfriend have, the fact that you do love each other. And yeah, they kept this from you because, I mean, while it's not great they kept it, it was early in the relationship where they didn't know how well you'd work out. And so revealing right away, like, hey, we just started dating, but by the way, I have been boinking your buddy. Like, that's not necessarily the easiest thing to bring up with someone that you're still getting to know. So, I don't know. It's a complex situation. I wouldn't let it get into your head too much because just keep in mind, she wanted to be with you. She chose to be exclusive with you for a reason, I'm guessing, and that's probably what you should focus on. Story 3. Today I effed up by falling for the most obvious scam ever. This didn't happen today, but rather a few months back when I was in Thailand with my sister. This also was not a monumental F-up at all. It could have been a lot worse. For context, me, 20 male, and my sister, 20 female, both never traveled outside of Europe before this. We went to Thailand together as a bit of a F it. We arrived in the evening, go to McDonald's. This is a crime, I know. Next day we went exploring Bangkok, still a bit jet-lagged. We're from the Netherlands, and the biggest city I've ever been to is London, so Bangkok was a monster. Before we were able to get used to it, a guy approached us in near-perfect English, learned this later is a red flag 1. He wrote some places for us to go on a piece of paper. He then calls over a seemingly random tuk-tuk driver who proceeds to accept a deal for 50 THB for more than 2 hours of driving around. Red flag 2. They told us it's because it's a national holiday. First, we went to a very unknown temple. It was beautiful and not touristy at all. We're enjoying it. Another random local approaches. He tells us we should really go looking for suits in a store nearby and get advice at a tourist information spot. We get on our way again and go to the suit store where a, looking back, way too pushy guy gets me to buy a suit. I drove the price down a lot, and with suit in hand, don't even feel scammed by this, to be honest. It's a decent suit and fits me perfectly. We move on to the tourist information since both locals told us they could really help us. They told us the government wants to support tourism by funding this free information place. We get there, and it looks a little sketch. Inside are a few desks and basically no other people except for the workers. The guy starts out by asking where we want to go. We tell him and he immediately starts naming specific stuff. Didn't feel too off yet at this point. We thought tourist information must be nice since in Europe these are all over the place and incredibly helpful. He then starts offering us stuff. Eventually it comes down to 1.2 thousand per person for the month. Sounds fine to us since this would be considerably incredibly cheap in Europe. We decide we want to think about it. He doesn't like that. He starts making up excuses why we can't, like he needs to book quickly and we need to leave a deposit. We actually tried to pay, but I was using a debit card which declined for suspicious payment. He then took us to an ATM where he kept pushing. I then said this wasn't feeling right at all. We decided to say we'd think about it and maybe come back tomorrow. He kept saying we couldn't and we legally have to leave a deposit, otherwise he'd call his friends, etc. Well, eventually we were stupid enough to leave him the deposit. This came down to 100 euros in total. We went back to our hotel after and realized this was all sounding incredibly stupid. Looked online and within 1 minute we found the same story like 5 times. Apparently it's an incredibly common scam in Southeast Asia. Oh well, I did get a suit that fits for 250 euros. It's mostly a today I effed up because it just seems so stupid to us now. We learned our lesson though and had an amazing trip. I guess it's a small price to pay for something that will help us on all our future travels. Still can't help but feel dumb when I think about it. Seriously, I wouldn't feel too dumb about that, especially if you've never traveled before to countries like this and never been exposed to these kinds of scams. Because, first off, you're on vacation, you're somewhere new and amazing. You don't necessarily know what the people and customs are like fully. Hopefully you've read up on it. Folks, if you're going to countries that are going to be decidedly different from your own, do some research beforehand. You want to know these kind of things, and you'll find out about this kind of stuff. But also, just when you get there, even when you're read up, there is just like this excitement and wonder to stuff. Like, I'm on vacation. Oh, everything's so magical and wonderful. It's nothing like real life. And then someone comes to you and it's like, can I take you away on an amazing trip for very little money? And you're like, wow, the wonders continue. It's still so amazing. And you can really get caught up in that stuff, and there's no shame in it, but it's good to share stories like this and do that research to find out that stuff like this can happen, scams like this can happen, and sometimes you're risking money, and sometimes you may be risking more. So just be careful when you're out there traveling, folks, and do your research. Story 4. I just found out my fiancé was a monster in high school. I'm going to type this fast. Excuse the grammar. He's back for lunch and I don't know him to know anything yet. Okay, guys, so I, 25 female, met my fiancé, 27 male, 5 years ago, and I thought he was perfect. He's handsome, kind, funny, and has a stable job, cop. He treated me so well since we met, he stopped me down for speeding and ended up with my number. Everything was going, so looking back now, I should have seen the red flags, like his family and old friends joking about his temper, and his high school bad boy days, and now I'm questioning, did my cat really run away or did he make him? I'm babbling, so here's what happened. We had an engagement party in his hometown a few days ago, and I got a Facebook message, now long after warning me about my fiancé, saying he was this monster in high school. So I thought, LOL, this is someone trolling, but then, as the day went on, 5 more people messaged me on being his cousin. I asked his cousin for proof because in my native dumb head, I thought this was a joke because my fiancé is an amazing person. He's a cop, for God's sake, and his cousin told me, give him a few hours. Well, about 2 hours ago, my world turned upside down. I was added to a group chat with a lot of proof. I've seen videos, heard stories, and seen screenshots, even a memorial page of one of his victims, self-termination at 16. Guys, this was horror movie level crap, from threats, assault, both physical / lots of misogyny and homophobia, even one of him harming person's dog while the kid screamed as my fiancé laughed. He looked about 18 in the video. The stories I heard both broke my heart and scared me, and I don't know what to do. Maybe he's changed? Should I confront him? Should I give him a chance to tell his side? Okay, so I'll give more information now I'm alone. I spoke to his cousin and I asked why didn't they ever do anything since they have videos. He said, you haven't thought we tried years ago? Life isn't a fairy tale. The bad guy doesn't always face justice. Your future in-laws and fiancé made sure everything always went away. And I then asked, why now tell me? He was honest. They, him, and other victims wanted to warn me out of both concern but mostly revenge, because how dare he have a happy life after what he did to them, which, fair. I asked if he knew if my fiancé ever did anything like anger management or therapy after high school. He said he did, and I asked if he thought my fiancé changed. He said, well, he isn't like his high school self anymore. People like him never truly change. I asked him if I decided to leave, would he help me? He said he would, but he would need to make a plan that can't lead back to him for his safety. So, I'm a big fan of the idea of rehabilitation, people getting therapy, getting help, and changing. And, it sounds like this guy was pretty monstrous back in the day. Like, she was not, that's a lot. That is, to drive someone to self-termination, to abuse animals, stuff like that. Like, that's really intense. And I don't like to believe that people like him never truly change, but I do believe even after therapy and stuff like that, like, something like that does need to be a red flag. And note, red flag does not mean, aha, red flag, everything's off, can't trust you at all. But it does mean that you should really keep your eyes open for other red flags and really try and examine that relationship and stuff. I don't know. I don't have all the information. I don't know what he's been through with therapy and the full extent of everything that he did and how he is now. Who knows? Because sometimes you're in a relationship and you don't see these warning signs. Like, a person might seem really nice, but that's just because you got on, just your, love goggles, and it might bear really investigating that and doing some hard thinking, because someone like this, if they really haven't changed, that could be concerning for your life even. So do be careful. But as far as should she just cut stuff off? I don't know. Story 5. Random kid keeps whole hotel floor awake. Him and his mother get to regret it. For some context, this happened a couple weeks ago when me, my 2 sisters, and my aunt and mom were on a trip to an indoor water park. We stopped at a hotel around 8 p.m. and we decided to crash there before we went to the water park the next morning, as it was down the road. So I sleep on a pull-out couch, my aunt in one bed and my 2 sisters and mom in the other. Fast forward to about 5 a.m. and we all wake up to a loud crash followed by manic giggling. I sit up quickly and rub my eyes a bit, while my relatives do the same. We ask each other what that was, realize it was just a loud noise, and try to go back to sleep before we hear more giggling even closer, with stomps and sprinting up and down the hall. I get peed off and stand up, put on some shorts and a wife beater before stepping out into the hall when a small kid about 8 to 9 smacks into my stomach. Now, I'm a big beefy kid at 6 foot 175 pounds, and this didn't faze me. The kid, however, smacks right into the ground and starts crying and wailing. I look down in surprise, but I feel zero remorse for this little crap. Then I hear what I at first assume is an angry bull, before looking up and seeing a middle-aged blonde lady stomping with her arms swinging side to side like it's a cartoon. She very angrily says, "Excuse me, but what exactly do you think you're doing to my sweet baby?" Entitled kid then goes, "Mommy, he pushed me." I very quickly said, "No, I did no such thing. Your child ran directly into me after keeping my whole family awake at 5 a.m. She then smugly says, "I don't care what you say or what he was doing. You look like a grown man and you just assaulted my child. I'm going to get security and press charges." I say, "Go ahead, I'll wait." She then gets a very confused-looking guard who sees me and says, "Sir, this woman here says you assaulted her child. Is this true?" I then patiently said, "No, officer. I walked out of my room and this child ran into me." The child then says, "Nuh-uh, you pushed me to the ground. I was just having fun playing." The officer simply says, "I can check the security footage if you'd like. We can see what happened here." Her face suddenly scrunched up and tried ever so hard to not look suspicious about it. "Oh," she suddenly said in a sweet, calm voice. "Well, I may have been wrong. There's no need for that. Come along, sweetie. Let's go back to our room," and dragged the kid along as he pouted and made a fuss. I shrugged at the guard and went back inside to tell my family about it, and that was that. Okay, so, I am happy that the person who posted this didn't, get in trouble with security or have, charges pressed against him or something like that. That's all great. But as far as the title of, the mother and kid living to regret this, did they? They basically got, a threat of, we can pull up security footage, and she got to go, "Oh, okay, no, that's okay," and left. I'd say more they just kind of got away with it. They woke you up, were kind of bratty, and kept you awake for a bit, and then left. I don't think she regrets anything, nor does that child. I don't think there's revenge that needs to happen, but also, people, you gotta stop babying your kids to the point where they can never do any wrong. Sometimes if stuff happens, just be like, "Look, I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. Come on, kid, let's go. Sorry if he bothered you." Unless this guy is, standing over your kid, maybe don't assume the worst. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.